Hey guys, welcome back to another weekly update. Before I start, guys, like I said in the Discord, on Wednesday, you don't want to miss this live stream. It's going to be the last live stream for this week before I leave for Australia. Okay, that means that you will not get any update on Friday, or at least no video update. If it's really required, you will get text and images as a technical update. Okay, so what I want to do for now is I actually want to go back to some simpler charts. Okay. I want to kind of show you guys where we are actually at. Okay. In terms of the cycle, what we should be focusing on. And let's make it very, very simple. Okay. So let's actually grab a cleaner chart. I think that this one could do. Let me make sure that there is nothing here that is really required. Okay, I don't think there are. So let me clean up this chart. Let's start with the total one. Because I want to kind of show you guys where we are generally at and what we need to focus on from a cleaner standpoint. Now, this is a clean chart, okay? I have nothing really prepared for it. What I'm going to show you guys is just some technical levels that we still have to watch out for. Okay, one of this will be this trend line right here. As you guys can see on the weekly time frame, we have broken below without any proper retest. As I do always, guys, I give you guys specific levels to watch out for price to potentially return. And what do I do every single week or day, depending on the chart that I'm analyzing? I give you guys an updated level. So for this particular chart, as you guys can see, we have clear alignments that tell us that we will go back up to at least $3.26 trillion. This is the high that we have seen at middle of January 2026 before the drop to the downside. Now, why is this important? Well, this was a very congested area for price, because if I were to kind of depict this area as a level of support and resistance, I'm sure that you guys can see where I'm going with this, and you guys can clearly see that this was a very important area before. Now, let's also be quite conservative here, and this is where I will apply a secondary trend line. This will be a dashed line simply because it's not the more extreme trend line. It's nothing too out of the ordinary for us to reach this level, and I'll show you guys why. Well, obviously, the first reason as to why this is not so important, but rather a further indication that the trend is going to switch to the upside very, very soon, is because, well, we have left this trend line without a retest. But not only that, you get perfect confluence with this area of resistance. So this will be your level at this moment in time. Let me make this video super simple for you guys to better understand what we need to be watching out for, because your current level of support, we could say, if you want to be conservative, you could add this entire area, but for now we don't need to do that. We could say that we are within this internal range. As you guys can see, every time we hit this area, which, to be completely honest, I could even go and extend it, because you can see that previously we had the wick down here before the push to the upside. Now we have found support pretty much at the same exact level. Now we're getting a bounce. Okay, so for us to reach this upper level, guys, is pretty straightforward. Matter of fact, if you look at it from simple support and resistance, this level right here um, has been broken without a retest. So if you want to be super conservative, guys, we are looking for $2.73 trillion, which, in my personal opinion, this is something that we need to watch out for, because what could also potentially happen here is the formation of a structure that looks something more like this in preparation for a revisit towards all-time highs. Now, why would this potentially make sense? Well, looking at this alignment right here, what do you notice? Well, you will notice that this is also another level uh, right here around 3.66 trillion dollars that is also a level that acts as a level of support and resistance. Let me actually get a proper line for this. Let me use this, okay? Because you can see that before found resistance here, it led to more downside. Here, as we managed to stay above, we pushed further. But as soon as we lost it, we had a significant crash. So this is a very important area for us. This is, make or break. I guess we could say make or break. My bad. Resistance level. Okay, got it. What is another confluence that we have with this trend line? Well, even this level right here, once it was broken, we never ever retested it. You have perfect alignments. Not that it necessarily means anything, but it has perfect alignments from September 2026 towards the end of it. Okay, so this is something that we have to watch out for because it could give us some better indication as to what could potentially happen next. Now, I'm trying to keep it super simple here because I don't want to overload at this moment. And the reason why I think that after $2.73 trillion, there is a chance for a pullback is because, as you guys can see, this trend line is missing the third touch. Why is this important? Because on the monthly, this is a step-by-step process. It starts from a lower time frame, and then it has to migrate and unfold most of the time, at least, also on the higher time frames. For example, do you guys remember when on the daily time frame we were making this W formation and I was saying, let me actually show you guys. Oops, there's no bar replay for it, sadly. But let's assume, okay, that we don't have this price action right here. Let's assume that you don't have any of this. Let me actually make this blacked out. Okay, let's assume that you don't see any of this price action and you don't know what is going to happen. If you guys remember on the weekly time frame, I was saying, guys, that look, it was more something like this, I believe. There is not enough formation uh, for us to consider this an actual strong bottom, okay, on the weekly time frame. There was a moment where I was saying this, okay, but if you go on the monthly now, well, what do you see? It's literally the same exact situation. So I think that it could lead for some choppiness um, going forward as we hit this particular level on Bitcoin, okay, and I'll show you guys Bitcoin in a second here, but let me actually just grab it right here. There's a reason why I marked this level right here, 80.5K, as your next important level of resistance. Because if we do manage to push up, this is likely to be that level from where we could potentially see a rejection from. It's the same exact level, guys, that I'm depicting right here. So I see quite a bit of confluence here as to why we may potentially see some resistance up ahead of us. So you could even treat this analysis, guys, as something that we should be using going forward because what happens in the lower time frames, guys, realistically speaking, most of the time is just noise, which is the reason why most of the times I don't really have much to say when it comes to certain altcoins or certain days. There's literally nothing much to say. So in a way, this video is a pre-monthly candle closure analysis in preparation for what is ahead of us, because overall, despite any short-term ups and downs that there's many at this moment, you can see that, yeah, we're marching up. Okay, we're marching up, but on the higher time frames, nothing is really guaranteed at this moment in time. Okay, which I think is something that is quite important to note, because on the monthly we have found support above the 50 EMA, yes, but on the weekly, as you guys can see, we are approaching the 50, and the 50 has not been approached since January 12th, which is very very important here, because it tells us, and this is usually what what I've seen when I've used EMAs is that unless it's the third touch, most of the times it leads to a continuation of the ongoing trend. What I am saying is that, as we are about to approach a level of resistance, I feel like it's going to be very, very likely that we will start to see resistance up in this area as we also touch or approach the 50 EMA. What happens from there, I think it's going to be a correction back down to this area of support if the low is in. Now, why do I say that? I personally think that there is a very good chance that it is. However, it's very important to also note that the third touch here of this trend line could also be something steeper like this with a very quick recovery. I think that that could be a realistic scenario simply because due to how long we've stayed in this range, I know for a fact that there is going to be a lot of stop losses below this low. So don't be surprised if something arises. It doesn't have to, but like I said, it could potentially happen. Liquidation below this low, before you know it, starts to progress higher. How many times have you had a trade where you get stopped out, and before you know it, price goes into the direction that you were expecting to see? So in my opinion, it's quite realistic for the market to do something like this going forward. There's also quite a bit of EMAs. We got a 200 and 800 EMA on the daily time frame, so we know that this area, guys, this is nothing to joke about. Besides the ups and downs that you're going to be seeing in the short term, I think that it's very, very likely that we will revisit this area. Um, but from there, it's very unlikely that the trend will proceed right away. I think that it's a lot more reasonable to expect a rejection from these levels. Continuation to the upside comes later. Now, I was asked, do you still believe in the old season? Of course. Hell, why do you think that I don't believe in old season anymore? What will be the reason? Even on Bitcoin, guys, and let me make things super, super clear for you. Um, Actually, I'm just going to be removing some of these red lines right here. Oops, my bad. Let me actually use the object tree for once. Let me remove this, that. Okay. Because this is an analysis that I made for you guys in the premium a long time ago, actually. Because I was expecting us to, stay within this area, and from here, like I showed you, a push to the upside. That push to the upside, guys, I think that that is exactly what is currently unfolding. However, however, the same thing regarding the structure that I said previously on the total one on the monthly. The same, of course, is the case for Bitcoin. This is the same level that I will be watching out for. And here, in this particular analysis, I've added quite a few trend lines, which before I remove, you guys can see that we have quite a bit right here in this exact area from where we could see a potential rejection. Matter of fact, let me actually just remove this ones right here, because if we still keep those instead, well, what do you see? That previously, we held it as a support, continuation to the upside. Held as a support, continuation to the upside. But now we have broken it. So I think that it's very, very likely that the next time that we approach these trend lines, we need to consider these as dynamic levels of resistance. And because it's going to be resistance, I think that we are going to be seeing another leg to the downside. But like I said, for the total one, that does not mean whatsoever that we have to go and make a new low. There is a good chance, and we already know where to look in case that happens to be the case, and it's going to be between 59.9 to 49 and 1 if that were to be the case. And just like the total one, we do have a trend line that supports this theory because it's missing the third touch as well. So if we were to get a push to the upside fairly soon, let's assume that we do that fairly soon. From there, we could potentially get a reversal back down, where depending on how long this all takes, could push us back down to around 59.3 at the very minimum before we actually start to push back up, something like this, okay? And before you know it, I think that it's quite likely that we will start to revisit some higher levels, probably up close to 100k. I think that that is a pretty reasonable level to watch out for. um Also, this low right here, as you guys can see, we're broken below without a retest. That will send you back up to around 90k. If you manage to get above that, 98.2 seems to be the next level. It's going to be a step-by-step process, but here the start of the show, guys, is not going to be Bitcoin. Okay, we know that to be the case. It's not going to be Bitcoin, but rather it's likely going to be the altcoins. Which, if we look at the Bitcoin dominance, it's very, very clear that we are no longer really proceeding to the upside, but rather we've been stabilizing and going sideways. We could get another push to the upside, as I show you guys in my other charts, especially if we look at it from this manner. Okay, here you can see that another push to the upside around 60.7% would be justified, even something more towards in this area, because if I grab my main chart right here, you can see that I've actually previously stated that um, historically old seasons happen from this highlighted area, and the area goes exactly from where I depicted, which is between 73.66 and 65.99. Within this areas where historically previous old seasons have happened. And this time, I did get an alert as we approach this level. And I don't know why, but on the charts now, it doesn't look like we have. But I know for a fact that I did have an alert here, and the price did trade into this region. I think that if I go on a lower time frame, I should be able to show you guys that it was the case on the daily note. On the 4 hour, no, maybe it was removed from trading view. Sometimes they do that. But anyway, if let's say that we didn't touch it, taking out this high, hitting this red line, guys, I think that is going to be quite beneficial. That doesn't necessarily mean that altcoins have to crash significantly either. Okay, they don't really have to do that. Some altcoins will definitely do it, but it could also be a case where this starts to move up as it's doing right now, while Bitcoin also is moving up. Because Bitcoin, if I open up the chart once again, it did start to move to the upside. And if you go on the weekly time frame from the Bitcoin dominance, you can see that the Bitcoin dominance is also mimicking it. And I just said to you that Bitcoin is likely going to reach 80.5k, probably even potentially push slightly higher than that. Let's say 82, just to kind of make an example here. And we could also get the Bitcoin dominance pushing up as capital rotates back into Bitcoin. But that could be in preparation, in my personal opinion, of what is likely going to happen next, which is old season. Okay, but before old season, I think that one more event will definitely be in the cards. Okay, so I just wanted to keep it simple today for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the premium live stream this Wednesday.